Apple revealed the first look of its inaugural store in the country.
After 25 years of selling products, Apple has finally launched the company's first physical retail store in the country.
This week, Apple CEO Tim Cook will be in India. He's inaugurating the first Apple stores in the country.
First in Mumbai and then in Delhi, customers are lining up as Apple opens its first 2 stores in India.
On April 18th, Apple opened their first store in India, in Mumbai. And 2 days later, on April 28th, Apple opened another store in Delhi. Apple has been in India since 1997, and it took 26 years for them to open their first store. But why now? India used to export just 1% of all the Apple productions last year. But now, India exports 7% of all the productions. Apple has even announced that they will triple their investments in the Indian market. Apple has also put manufacturing in India. But what is the reason of all this? And most importantly, what is the big plan behind all this? Apple के CEO Tim Cook खुद इंडिया आ गए, माधुरी दीक्षित के साथ बैठ के वड़ा पाव खा रहे हैं। अचानक से ऐसा क्या हो गया that he's roaming all around India, and why this kindness now? When a company is kind to a country, it's all for the selfish reasons. It's all for their own good. And if Apple is kind to India right now, then there must be some reason behind it. Let's discuss in this video what are those reasons. Okay, so let's go back to history a little bit. Let's start by talking about how Apple actually entered the Indian market in 1997. Apple introduced their first computer to the world in 1984 called Apple Macintosh, which is now shortened to Mac or MacBook, whatever you call it. The Macintosh was the first successful mass market all-in-one desktop personal computer with a graphical user interface, built-in screen and mouse. At that time, Apple was completely focused on selling Macintosh. And at that time, no one launched or sold these Macintosh in India. And I think it was inevitable because it was sold for $2,500. And 1997 में हमारी हालत बहुत खराब थी. India was a very poor country. We didn't have disposable income. The economy was trash. People didn't have money. Apple also knew where the money was for luxury and premium products. So Apple ने India को पूरा ignore कर दिया. वैसे ही जैसे मेरे क्रश ने मुझे किया. Apple's India team even proposed to Apple's American team that India is a very good market, but they refused to open any kind of stores in small countries. But there's another reason for it. Apple was completely focused on some other country at that time. Guess what that country was? Yes, you guessed it right. It was none other than China. China was the fastest growing economy with amazing disposable income. The population was more, money was more, and the manufacturing was also cheap here. So where to move all the operations now? China. More than 95% of production is done in China, and 25% of all the Apple products sold are done in China. Just imagine 1/4 of all the sales of Apple are from China. But then Apple started running very fast, even faster than America. It became the second highest economy, and then America thought if China runs at this speed, it will soon take over America. The whole production was dependent on China, and even 1/4 of all the sales were from China. So they thought, let's just pull our hands a little bit from China, because इन पे पूरा dependent हो गए तो बाद में बहुत problem होगा. In 2013, the trade war started. America made a strategy to reduce their dependency on China. Apart from China, they wanted to develop in some other countries, because if some disputes happen tomorrow, then there must be some kind of replacement or backup plan. And that one country that can replace China was India. India is exactly sitting on the same position China was sitting on 15 to 20 years ago. Today, India is the most growing economy. In today's date, India's disposable income is increasing day by day. At that time, there was a lot of youth in China, and now there's a lot of youth in India. Last year, Apple sales in India was $6 billion. That is around 50,000 crores in Indian rupees. And the Apple's revenue is increasing at the rate of 45% in India. More than 15 crore iPhones are sold in India every year. That is second highest after China. The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology said that by 2025, the total trade of electronics in India will be $400 billion. So naturally, the smartphone market will also rise. Then in 2018, Apple appointed Ashish Chaudhary as their new country manager in India. Ashish was previously Nokia's chief customer operations officer, and he knew the Indian market very well. But our Indian government also had some conditions. They said if you want to grow in India, you have to increase the production in India. And Apple agreed. 60,000 employees work in India right now, and they have made and exported more than 5 billion iPhones this year. And you would think that Apple is such an old company and there are 200 countries in the world. Then why is opening a store such a big deal? Well, it is a big deal because India is among 23 countries that Apple thought they can open their personal stores. Before India, there were 22 countries where they thought that they should open their stores. USA is on top with the highest number of stores with 272 stores all over the country. Then there is China with 45 stores and then UK with 39 stores. Now there are 2 stores in India right now, and I think in 5 to 10 years there will be more than 10 stores at least. For this new store, 170 people have been selected among thousands of applications. They have been trained for 8 months and they were called to the biggest Apple stores in other countries to gain experience. They can speak over 15 languages and can even speak regional languages like Telugu, Tamil, Marathi, Bengali, whatever you want to speak. But the question is, after all this effort, can Apple actually replicate the success they gained in China? So far, across all devices, phones, laptops, tablets, iOS just makes up 4% of all the operating systems in India. And Android makes 95% of India. Just imagine, 95% of people in India use Androids. Even the iPhone SE, one of the Apple's cheaper iPhone, did not perform well in India. Because उसके जैसे same features वाले phone उससे हाफ के भी कम दाम में मिल सकते हैं. Because the reality is, majority of Indians can't afford an Apple product. The thing is, these iPhones are bought by rich or upper middle class people only. Apple's main target audience is the upper class of India, whose average annual income is 9 lakhs or above. Just 7.5% of Indian households have car at their home. And if you or your family have a car, then congratulations, you're Apple's target customer. Now, are you willing to spend 1 lakh rupees for an iPhone or you prefer Android? Just let me know in the comment section. If you ask me, then yes, Android is very user friendly and it's way cheaper than an iPhone. But the user interface of an iPhone, the premium look and feel of it is unmatchable. Although I use an older product, I use iPhone XR. But still, it feels way better than any kind of Android phone, even a flagship of Samsung. Nobody knows the future of Apple in India. Will people buy this overpriced phone or just Android will continue dominating the Indian market? But there's a twist actually. The thing is, India is a status-driven country. We spend irrational amounts of money on weddings and jewelry. I've even seen people taking unimaginable amounts of loan to just buy a luxury car or build their own home just to show off to their relatives and friends. मैंने तो ऐसे भी लोगों को देखा है जो अपनी 4 महीने की सैलरी जोड़ के एक आईफोन लेते हैं just to show off to their friends that देखो मेरे पास आईफोन है. Apple is even aiming to make India the primary assembler or manufacturer of iPhones. Doing this, they might even reduce the cost of these iPhones. Indians are even happy to buy older products of iPhones so that they can be a part of the Apple Premium Club. And people who can't afford a brand new iPhone, Apple even sells the second-hand and refurbished phones. But Apple has a different brand strategy. It's not just a phone company. Steve Jobs once said, Apple is about people who think outside the box. People who want to use computers to help them change the world, to help them create things that make a difference, and not just to get their job done. Now, even though the data is against Apple and majority of average Indians can't afford an Apple product, Apple is still taking a bet on India. But how will it turn out? That only time can tell. But did you know who helped Apple to open their first store in Mumbai? It's none other than our Mota Bhai, Mukesh Ambani. Ambani is taking a lot of bets in recent times. Just like recently they wanted to revolutionize the OTT industry with Jio Cinema. Check out the full story if you haven't. And if you like this video, subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.